Good afternoon. For my design paper assignment, I decided to examine the issue of military heritage. The first example I would want to talk about is the Presidio of San Francisco. The Presidio was established in 1776 when what is now California was part of the Spanish Empire. After the Mexican War of Independence, it became part of Mexico, and after the Mexican-American War, it was annexed by the United States. Nowadays, however, since closing in 1994, as part of the base realignment and closure procedure, it is a mixture of commercial and public history property. For example, while Lucasfilms has offices there, they also offer a demonstration of a historical artillery battery that was in use during the base's operation. Perhaps a more in-depth example would be Eaker Air Force Base, originally named Blytheville Air Force Base. Created in 1942 as a base for training pilots of the United States Army Air Forces, the precursor to the modern United States Air Force. It closed in 1945 when World War II ended. 10 years later, with the tensions of the Cold War at an absolute high, it was reopened when the United States Air Force assigned the base to the Tactical Air Command. 2 years later, it was transferred to the Strategic Air Command, and airmen were placed in the Crew Readiness Center, prepared to launch aircraft and missiles on a moment's notice in case of an attack by the Soviet Union. In addition, it played an important role in both the Cuban Missile Crisis and the Vietnam War. When it was closed down in 1992, it was quickly turned into Arkansas International Airport. However, there also is a bit of historical preservation involved. In 2018, a history professor from Arkansas State University, Edward Sallow, successfully lobbied for the base's alert shack, or the place where nuclear threats were monitored, the area where airmen stayed while on long-term duty, a recreational use by the families of the airmen, in a weapons storage facility to be added to the National Register of Historical Places as Blytheville Air Force Base Strategic Air Command Alert and Weapons Storage Area Historic District. Future plans for the former Air Force Base include a possible museum and national park that would highlight the base's efforts during the Cold War era. A feasibility study states that up to 50,000 people would visit the museum within 2 years of opening and needed boost its economically distressed region's economy. In addition to these two successful examples of turning retired military installations into places of public history, I would like to take the time to highlight an example of what not to do. For that, we must turn to Naval Station Puget Sound, also known as Sandpoint Naval Air Station. Today, the majority of the former naval base is the site of Magnuson Park, with much of the buildings used to house equipment and sailors turned into residential or commercial property. But what a mischance. This base was full of history. In the late 1910s, the Navy decided that Puget Sound would make an ideal base for a multitude of reasons. On July 13, 1922, Congress authorized $800,000 to build a joint Army-Navy airfield, and on April 6, 1923, the first permanent hangar was constructed. Just 1 year later, it would be etched into the annals of history. On April 7, 1924, 4 Douglas biplanes departed from Naval Station Puget Sound on a journey to complete the first circumnavigation of the globe by air. On September 28, 1924, 2 of the planes returned successfully with 50,000 adoring fans greeting them. 18 years later, when the Japanese attacked Dutch Harbor, the first aerial attack on the continental United States in history, it was planes from Puget Sound that helped to force them back. There could have been a museum about the history of military aviation, or about the American theater of World War II, which is often overlooked in most histories. But instead, land development prevailed and a massive opportunity was missed.